In progress.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
you are on.
thank you. The meeting of the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Carr,
Present.
Director O'Halloran,
Here.
Director Peterson,
Present.
Director Taylor,
In attendance.
and Chair Herndon.
Present.
We have 5 present.
I will now ask the Secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Members, please mute your devices.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will now have an announcement regarding the interpretation for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes. Esta junta escolar se transmitirá en español para aquellas personas que lo necesiten. Para escuchar esta junta escolar en español, por favor marque el número 312-626-6799. Repito, por favor marque el número 312-626-6799 y ponga el número de identificación y código para esta junta 608-130-5362. Repito, 608-130-5362. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Pursuant to Board Rule 1.06, this meeting is being conducted virtually. Board members may be participating from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public participation as possible, this meeting is being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream. The links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. We will now move to our items of business. As stated in the public notice, individuals who wish to speak were required to register in advance. I ask those waiting to speak to please remain on the platform until you're called upon. Although we are on a virtual platform, we will still follow Robert's Rule of Order, which dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair. Also, any questions or requests, including those from board members or the administration, are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. As always, written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the board. Written comments may be submitted to the board via the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to the governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Finally, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting https://milwaukeepublic.ic-board.com/. Madam Secretary, please begin.
Madam Chair, as requested, we will begin with items 1 through 3, then move to items 14 and 16, and then proceed with the remaining items on the agenda. The first item for consideration is item number 1, action on monthly personnel matters, action on classified personnel transactions, action on certificated appointments, action on leaves of absence, the report on certificated resignations and classified retirements, and the affirmative action report. The administration recommends that the board approve the promotions, appointments, and leaves as listed in the attachments to this item.
Will the administration please present this item?
Good evening, Chair Herndon and members of the committee. Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. We are asking for your approval of the monthly personnel items as well as the reporting items before you. Adrian Maloney is here with me this evening, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item?
You have two hands raised. That's Director O'Halloran and then Director Peterson.
Director O'Halloran.
I move we approve administration's recommendations for the promotions, appointments, and leaves as listed.
Thank you. Let's see. That takes care of that, correct, Madam Secretary? So next item, please.
Madam Chair, we will call the roll on Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the monthly personnel items. On that motion, as read into the record, Director Carr.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 2, which is action on a request for approval of job descriptions for Associate 2, the Foundation Business, and Associate 3, Design and Marketing, Associate 3, School Nutrition Coordinator. I'm sorry, School Nutrition for the Associate 3 position, and then Coordinator 1 for Marketing. The recommendation is that the board approve the job descriptions as outlined in the attachments to this item.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Yes. Good evening, Chair Herndon and members of the committee. We're asking for your approval of the attached job description. Adrian Maloney is here with me, and we can answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I was just wondering how quickly the process moves from here. So if we approve them then and they get approved at the full board, like how quickly are they posted? And then what's the recruiting timeline like?
Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director O'Halloran, members of the committee, Adrian Maloney, Chief Human Resources Officer. Once the board approves the job description at the full board on Thursday, we will move forward with having the positions posted next week. We'll do an announcement in the Thursday updates that they can see, and then the posting usually is out for about 2 weeks. We usually have it posted on our website for about 2 weeks. And then we work with the hiring manager to schedule interviews and move forward. So if all goes well, hopefully we could have some names brought to the board February.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else? Madam Secretary, I'd like to turn the gavel over to the Vice Chair, please.
So noted.
Thank you. I do have questions about, and I guess in my case, I question 2 of the items, one being the marketing coordinator 1, and the other being the associate 3 for design and marketing. And I'll start with this. As I looked at both of them, there's something I did notice, and I don't know if we have someone hired in such a position or not, and that is the social media marketer, someone that strictly handles the social media, such as Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc., monitoring hashtags and collecting statistics. Do we have someone employed in that?
Go ahead.
Chair Herndon, and members of committee, Adrian Maloney, Chief Human Resources Officer. With regard to the Coordinator 1 in marketing, that position currently is not filled. There is no one in that position right now. There is the Associate 3 position of design and marketing. There is one person that is in that position. Again, that person will be reclassed into position, the change in the job title, but then there's another position that would fill it. So there'll actually be 2 Associate 3s of design and marketing.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of a social media individual, we don't have such a person in the marketing department at the present time. Is that what you're saying?
Chair O'Halloran, members of you have the gavel, right? Members of the committee, yes, we
Director
have.
Carr is chair.
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
Director Carr has the gavel.
Oh. Chair Carr, members of the committee, yes, we do have someone that's filling in one of those positions right now. That's a person that deals with social media right now and outward facing.
Okay, how is that individual connected to either of these positions in terms of responsibilities?
Chair Carr, members of the committee, that individual will be working day to day with those individuals, and they will be inward facing. This is all one big department, and everyone will be working together. I have Sheree Douglas, who's here also with me right now, that can follow up with any thing that I may have left off.
Okay.
Anything additional, Sheree?
Now, then my next question is, so the one position for the Associate 3, there's someone in that position already. What I found looking at the essential functions of these jobs, I found that they were not explicit enough in terms of responsibilities. And my concern is, how do you measure performance if that is the case? Where you're using terms like, let's see, one of them. Ensures brand and messaging quality, or maintain positive relations, or helps promote or collaborate. And if, for example, with collaboration, if it's not explicit as to who they should be collaborating with, then how can they be, an individual be held to either performing that function or not?
Administration.
Hello, Chair Carr, members of the committee, Sheree Douglas, Director of Communication and Outreach. So in each of the jobs that are on in the department, the goals are aligned to working with each other. And so when the description talks about collaboration, it is not only within a department, but within the schools and other departments within the district.
Okay. Yes. One of my questions had to do with the Associate 3 position. I think that's the one. They were written so closely in alignment that it was kind of difficult to compare the two. I think it was the Associate 3 where it indicated that district travel would be somewhat limited. It almost sounded like it was a sit in the office type position. However, when I read the responsibilities or requirements of the position, it sounds to me like something that we as board directors were kind of hoping for over the past several years, which was someone that actually visited the schools and were able to identify what the needs of the schools were in terms of their websites or what was going on at the school and how they wanted to promote it on social media, because part of one of these positions has to do with building the market share, which is very, very important. And to build the market share, we cannot exclude the importance of someone with their finger on the social media aspect, not just behind the desk in the office and collaborating or whatever. So am I reading this wrong, or is one of these positions going to be basically to go out and work the schools?
Director Carr, members of the committee, Sheree Douglas, Director of Communications and Outreach. We actually have a few positions that do just that. Currently my position, I go out to the schools and meet with school leaders and talk about, marketing and branding. We're also in the process of hiring a communications coordinator who will be essentially like the liaison that goes from our department and into the schools, looking for stories to uplift, the good things that are happening in each school. And as well, our social media person does in fact go out to the schools and gets photos, which is the photos that you see when we do events, the Facebook albums and things that you have. So that person is traveling around from school to school, along with our videographer and photographer. He also goes around and does just that.
You finished all of my questions. Thank you so much, because those were things that I did not see addressed in either of these jobs. And so then I was questioning, well, these things are missing. And one of my notes was, where's the photographer and videographer to make sure that we're always on top of what's going on in all of our schools. One last thing I'd like to point out too, as the ball is rolling based on the extra funding that we've had from the ESSER funds for really pushing our marketing, is the fact that I wanted to share with you, the community doesn't necessarily know the offerings of the schools in the district. And what I mean by that is our high schools, the majority of them are specialty schools. And that was started many, 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 many years ago. And I'm finding that even people that work within the district don't know the difference in the schools. And when it comes to parents, we've got over the past 20 or 30 years or so that these schools have been in place or more, we've had a lot of people move to the city, and they don't know, so they create a lot of surfing from school to school for their children, simply because they may send their child to say French immersion, for example, and maybe a foreign language wouldn't be appropriate in terms of elementary. But that's an example. But in high school, they may send a student to School of Languages only to realize, oh, that's not a general ed curriculum that I was expecting. So now the kid's there for 2 weeks a month, and the next thing you know, the kid is gone somewhere else because that didn't meet the needs of the student and perhaps the parent as well. So I would personally ask that we identify to the community and kind of make that first and foremost, that parents become more aware of what's being offered. I was in a meeting doing a charter school review just a couple weeks ago, and many of these people around the table are former employees directly of MPS or or were in the past, and they were not familiar with the schools such as Vincent and the agriculture program there. And they were just amazed to hear the story that I shared about the offerings at Vincent High School. And that was just a couple weeks ago. So I just wanted to let you know that, and I'm very happy to see this moving forward. Thank you.
Passing the gavel back.
So noted.
Okay. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to the item?
You do have Director Peterson in the queue, and for our listening audience, Director Leonard is also joining the committee.
Great. Director Peterson.
I move acceptance of the proposals by the administration regarding these job descriptions.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Peterson's motion for approval of the job descriptions for the Associate 2 Foundation Business, Associate 3 Design and Marketing, Associate 3 School Nutrition, and Coordinator 1 Marketing, as outlined in the attachment to this item. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 3, action on recommended administrative appointments, promotions, reassignments and reclassifications, salary increases and decreases, and limited term employment contracts exceeding 60 days. The recommendation is that the board, 1, authorize the individuals to be promoted, reassigned, or reclassified to receive the salary decreases or increases and be appointed to the classifications indicated in the attachments to this item to be effective as indicated. And 2, approve the LTE contracts exceeding 60 days pursuant to Administrative Policy 6.23, Parent 4, Parent B, to be effective as indicated in the attachment.
Thank you. Will administration please present the item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we're requesting your approval of the attached administrative appointments and LTE contracts that are before you. We're happy to respond to any questions that you may have at this time, but before that, I would ask Adrian Maloney to share some comments at this time. Adrian?
Thank you. Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Adrian Maloney, Chief Human Resources Officer. I just wanted to note on here that we have some recommended appointments as well as a reclassification. We just did the job description item and we approved the new job title. And I mentioned earlier, we have one person that's currently performing the work. So we are simply changing the title to that individual's job. There is no change in salary at all. Just wanted to point that out, as well as we have LTEs that we're bringing forward, as Dr. Fosley has mentioned.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director Peterson.
Your microphone is muted.
I move that we approve the appointments as the administration has recommended, including the LTDs.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Director O'Halloran.
Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I did have a concern that I was actually hoping that we could advance it to the full board without recommendation.
Thank you.
So I mean, I know we have a motion on the floor already. I don't
Yes.
know how I would be able to, I mean, I can vote against it, but if other committee members would also have similar concerns or something, I don't know if we could just go that route as well, or instead of, I mean.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Director O'Halloran, you do have 2 options. One would be to put forth a substitute motion, or 2, you could set the item aside at the full board meeting for discussion.
Okay, Director O'Halloran, which way would you like to go?
I'd like to do a substitute motion.
Okay. Would you speak your substitute motion? Would that be the proper
Sure.
thing to do? Yes.
I would like to make a substitute motion that we advance it to the full board without recommendation.
Thank you. Madam Secretary,
So
please
noted.
please call the roll. That would
You
be
do
the.
have Director Carr in the queue to speak.
Okay, I didn't see you, Director Carr. I apologize. Director Carr.
Does there need to be a second? Or
There does
no?
not need to be a second at this time.
Thank you. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's substitute motion to move this item to the full board without recommendation, Director Carr,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
Director Taylor,
Aye.
and Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
Madam Chair, just for our listening audience, this is where we move forward to the items that were requested to be moved up in the agenda. The first item to be moved up would be item number 14, which is action on a request to approve the funding agreement with Common Ground, Inc. for the reconstruction of Washington Heights School's playfield. The recommendation is that the board approve the funding agreement with Common Ground, Inc. for the reconstruction of the Washington High School playfield.
Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, this item is requesting approval of the attached agreement with Common Ground for the reconstruction of the Washington School playfield. Approval of this agreement and completion of this project will result in the access of high-quality facilities at the Washington High School for students and the community at large. Sean Kane and Martha Kreisman is here with me this afternoon, and we can answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Okay, Director Peterson.
Yes, I wanted to just thank Common Ground and the administration for working together. I know many of us have been working on this, other board members as well, for the last couple of years, and Common Ground has raised considerable funds, and we are going to contribute considerable funds to make sure that this serves the students at Washington High School and the broader community in that neighborhood. So I want to thank people in advance. Hopefully we'll pass this. Obviously, I'm in favor of it.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have one individual on the platform registered to speak on this item.
Thanks. Would you go ahead with that individual, please?
The speaker on the platform to speak on this item would be Alex Hardy. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony. Mr. Hardy?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm sorry.
Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Alex Hardy, Hardy.
Thank you.
Good evening. Again, I am Alex Hardy, co-chair of Deacons at Community Baptist Church, which is located 3 blocks south of Washington High School, as well as a member of the strategy team for Common Ground and a 30-year resident of Sherman Park neighborhood. I want to thank Dr. Posley and the school board, especially former Director Woodward and current directors Carr and Peterson for their consistent support for this project. As you know, Washington High School is part of a rebirth for our Sherman Park community. And Washington has a strong relationship with the community residents and have shared their resources with us, especially the athletic field. We've shared the space for the track where many community residents get their exercise because they feel safe walking there. And our children spend many hours at the basketball court. But over the years, the field has suffered some damage and needs to be repaired. And 6 years ago, Common Ground entered a partnership with the Milwaukee Public Schools to renovate the athletic field. which include an artificial turf, new track, and 2 new half basketball courts. The renovated field will allow students from Washington High School and residents to participate in more activities under safer conditions. This is an example of the village working in that when schools and communities cooperate, failure is not an option. Our work continues. We are asking you to help us get it done for this 105-year-old institution. Common Ground has raised $735,321 toward this project. We're asking MPS to put the balance of $1,489,954 of a $2.3 million investment and approve the construction contract so that the project can be put out to bid and completed by next fall. Common Ground is hopeful that we will also get $250,000 grant from the National Football League. We expect to hear from the NFL later this month. This grant and any additional money.
Madam
Thank you.
Chair, this item is back with the committee.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director O'Halloran.
Sorry, just realized I was on mute. I would approve, I would ask that we approve administration's recommendation that we approve the funding agreement with Common Ground for the reconstruction of Washington High School's playfield.
Absolutely. Is there further discussion by committee members? If not, will the I'm sorry, Director Carr, you popped up just for a second.
No, I just wanted to add that I know this has been a very challenging task that Common Ground has taken on. And I just want to say congratulations for being strong advocates for the Washington High School community. And I also want to say thank you to the administration and my fellow board members for working with Common Ground to make this come to fruition because it is so critical. And I know that a lot of families, specifically children who are students, will benefit greatly. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Taylor.
Thank you, Chair Herndon. I just want to say again, I think this is great. It has been in the works for a while with the process. I just look forward to the continued collaboration and look forward to the new field and stuff for those in the Washington High School area.
Okay. Any more board members? Okay. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation for the funding agreement with Common Ground, Inc. for the reconstruction of the Washington High School's playfield. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Next item, please.
Madam Chair, the next item that was set aside to be moved up in the agenda is item number 16, which is the report with possible action regarding the school request for addition and/or renovation projects. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Will administration please present this item?
Yes, Chair Herndon and members of the committee, this item serves to provide the board and the listening audience with an update relative to school requests for additions and renovations. Based on our school requests, we have compiled a summary of the proposed school projects as well as estimated costs. The summary is attached to this item. I will ask Mr. Sean King to provide an overview of the request process, as well as the schools and regions summary. Martha Kreisman will give an overview of the guidelines to utilize ESSER funding for construction projects. And finally, we have Nick Simran from the City Attorney's Office joining us to address the requirements for implementation. Sean?
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Chair Herndon, members of the committee. Sean Kane, Senior Director of Facilities and Maintenance Services. Not too long ago, the Milwaukee Board of School Directors approved approximately $65 million in ESSER 3 funds for schools to make construction project requests. As requested, the administration is following up with a report. A project submission application was distributed to all leaders in early November, and the FMS team received over 700 project requests. After vetting all the requests, the team compiled them into a spreadsheet. The requests were wide range from additions to remodelings of libraries, to painting classrooms, to installing new shades, or updating public bathrooms. Our team took the next step in reviewing the scopes and providing preliminary cost estimates to get an idea of how much we were really looking at. I need to remind everyone the costs are very preliminary and based off unit costs without site investigation and/or thorough project analysis. The first document provided as the upload was the general application form that was distributed amongst the school leaders. The next document is the one that Dr. Posley was referring to as a school request summary. It defines what projects were put together in three primary categories: exterior scope projects, interior scope, and then the addition/renovation. Each category as part of this document has a legend with subcategories to try to explain what were some of the scope requests that kind of entailed fencing, painting, lighting, etc. So you can kind of see that below the legend. The next part of the spreadsheet identifies the categories of costs requested by each school. The last part of the document includes pie charts to identify requests by school region. At the moment, we have approximately $470 million in school requested projects. At this point, I'm turning it over to Ms. Martha Kreitzman, and then the city attorney.
Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. In order to implement construction projects using ESSER funds, a construction assurance is part of the application agreement. The construction assurance provides federal requirements for the use of funds for major renovations and capital projects. We wanted to make sure the board was aware of a couple requirements when it comes to MPS buildings, which are the property of the city of Milwaukee. For buildings where there is major construction using ESSER funds, the assurance states that MPS will not dispose of, modify the use of, or change the terms of the real property title or other interest in the site without permission, instruction from the awarding agency. The awarding agency would be Wisconsin DPI, who would work with the federal government as needed. And we will record the federal interest in the title in accordance with awarding agency directives, and will include a covenant in the title to assure non-discrimination during the useful life of the project. The assurance also says we will have or will obtain a full title or other interest in the site, including right of access that is sufficient to ensure the applicant's undisturbed use and possession of the facilities for 50 years or the useful life of the facility, whichever is longer. In order to better understand these requirements, Nick Sinram, Assistant City Attorney, is online to provide us more information about implementing the ESSER construction program assurances.
Thank you, Martha. Good evening, Director Herndon and committee members. Nick Sinram, Assistant City Attorney from the City of Milwaukee. I've been working with Martha Kreitzman, the administration, as well as some of our real estate attorneys in our office to really review and understand the many layers and sources of federal regulations. To summarize, just as Martha said, really essentially in exchange for these federal funds to use to fund construction projects, we have to agree to two things. One, that we own the building and that we won't sell the building within the useful life of these projects. And so, the federal government wants that confidence that we are using these for appropriate educational purposes, using these funds for appropriate educational purposes, and that they'll be continued to be used that way for the rest of their useful life. So really, in general, I think it's fairly straightforward when it's kind of translated in that way. I've spoken to the general counsel for the Green Bay school districts as well as the Madison school district. They have experience with similar federal funding of construction projects. And after reviewing all of the issues surrounding this, I really have no concerns about liability either for MPS or the city. While no one wants to invite more federal oversight of our operations, it's really a pretty minimal burden considering the value of implementing these very useful and necessary projects. So I think you can rest assured that we can meet both of these assurances that are required in the federal grant language, and that this is something that I feel comfortable moving forward with. As far as actually implementing this process, this requires a covenant to be placed on title. This is with the county register of deeds. It's very common in real estate transactions. It would be essentially similar to a lien on a property that would indicate in the actual title record that the federal government has an interest in our properties to the extent that they want to ensure that they're continued to be used for educational purposes. So again, I think the burden is well worth the investment or the ability to use these funds in these investments, and no concerns from our office there. While the city does not have a process in place at the moment for this exact situation, our office is happy to work with the Common Council to pass a resolution that would authorize MPS to grant this interest in title to the federal government. And I'd be happy to facilitate those conversations with the Common Council and alders. And I'd be happy to answer any questions any of you might have. In the meantime, I'll turn the presentation back over to Superintendent Posley.
Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Senior Director of Facilities and Maintenance Services. I guess I just want to circle back to some of the pie charts and maybe explain some more of the information that hopefully might be a little more helpful to get a little better of understanding. Part of the one chart that's really good one to look at is like the school request classification, where it does identify the exterior projects, interior projects, and major renovations, additions. Those really give it entails really what the scope was, where a lot of these schools were asking as part of their school requests. So once they went through that, our team then worked through the next couple, the spreadsheets. You see it's a school site by list. And then that's where you see underneath each school site, they have exterior, interior, and possibly a major renovation or addition. Those are the dollar amounts that get pulled together at the end. And then that translates over into the pie charts, which you kind of see where each region that you can kind of even look through, for instance, the high school one, all the high schools are relatively listed there. So you kind of see where those dollar amounts are kind of rolling up into that spreadsheet or kind of in this pie chart. And you kind of get a good sense of where the requests are coming from throughout each region. Another one that you may want to look at, again, with the central region, again, that pie chart, you see a lot of equity. I see a lot of requests that are kind of blending together that are relatively in the same cost aspect. I'd say somewhat for the most with the East region as well. If you see a lot of the colors on the charts, you see a lot of overlap, I would say, on some of the school requests. So a lot of the schools, I'd say for the most part, were kind of blending in, I'd say are just kind of lumping in together for like the specific dollar amount, what they were requesting. But again, they all had different requests. Like I said, some wanted shades, one wanted one for doing ceiling and lighting, and others had, some great ideas as well. Looking at the Northwest region as well. And I'd even say for the Southwest, we see a lot of equal pie slices that you want to see there, that it just seems as if everyone has good amount of requests. And I think we're going to be able to work some things through with them.
And based on the information that has been submitted, the following, we're going to look at the following considerations. We have 6 things that we have laid out there. We have over 700 different requests. We talked about the $67.4 million that's the total. But when we looked at it, we looked at how can we scale back some of this and work with the, with the board with this. And number one is that we looked at this whole thing. One of the things that we're using is increased enrollment and market share. So looking at these projects to see how many of them increase enrollment and market share. Then we want to look at addressing enrollment, compared to building capacity. Is the building is at full capacity right now and we are adding an addition, or doing some renovation to increase the number. We also looked at to try to remedy building grade levels and student grade level mismatch, such as having a high school in a middle school building. And what does that look like? How can we make retrofit to get the school to where it needs to be? And then also looking at updating the building to support the existing program. If we have a program, if I would use the High School of the Arts, there's been changes and we upgraded our program there in past years, and looking at those different programs, and that could be any type of programming that we looked at. And then the other piece is looking at using, each school will receive that $100,000, and looking at some of these requests could be paid for out of that $100,000. And so like small painting projects and things of that nature, door repairs and things of that nature. So that will take something off of the list. And then this whole thing too around eliminating air conditioning projects off of the list as well, because if we can't do it for one, we don't want to do it. We can't do it for all. We don't want to do it for a set few of them. And so those are some of the things that we want to look at. Those are 6 areas that we're looking at, and also in asking the board if there's others that you come up with or think of, please don't hesitate to let us know. Our goal is to go through these 6 areas or more, depending on what we come up with at the end, and then come back in January with a priority list. And I just ask that if board members will weigh in on projects, each one of these projects is laid out. You need further detailing around these projects, please let us know, and we'll be more than happy to provide that. And that concludes our portion of this presentation, and we are prepared to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you so much. It's exciting to see that list of those projects. And it was so desperately needed. And I'm really thankful that we're able to do it. And I'm sure our staff and our students in these buildings that ultimately get these repairs or enhancements will be super pleased and excited. Do any committee members wish to make comments or ask questions?
Madam Chair, your queue is Director Peterson, Taylor, and then O'Halloran.
Thank you. Director Peterson.
I was just wondering if we could have public comment first before the board starts asking questions. I do have some questions, but I'd love to hear the public first.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Do we have any public speakers in the queue?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have individuals on the platform ready to speak. Would you like to go to public testimony?
Yes, we can do that.
The first speaker that we have to speak on item number 16 is Garrett Bucks. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. My name is Garrett Bucks, last name B as in boy, U-C-K-S.
Thank you.
I am speaking as a proud parent of a 3rd grader and a K-4 student at La Escuela Fratney. And I want to thank the board so much for all their continued support for Fratney School. As you know, it is an incredibly special, diverse, multicultural, multilingual learning community. And I know that with this broader request, you have so many really, really important facilities projects to take on throughout the district. I'm speaking from my perspective simply as a Fratney parent to one particular request, the renovation of the Fratney basement where currently K-4 classrooms and bathrooms are. Fratney has an incredible student body, has absolutely amazing faculty. This is a classic situation where the one missing piece of a key educational experiences is a facilities need, where we have our youngest learners right now who are currently split up throughout the school because we can't have all K-4 students down in the basement together. And that means one K-4 classroom in particular doesn't have adequate bathroom access, which, as you can probably probably understand for our youngest learners, makes a huge, huge impact on the ability of students and teachers to build the kind of learning community they need. So this request would make a huge difference for being able to have all the K-4 classrooms together, to be able to have our youngest learners have the bathroom facilities they deserve, and to give the support to our amazing educators and our amazing students. So thank you so much for your consideration, both of that request, and I'm sure all of the other really, really important requests from facilities throughout the district. Thanks all.
Thank you. The next speaker that we have on the platform would be Abu Lucent. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony. Hello. It looks like the speaker is trying to log on. Okay, the microphone is unmuted. Are you able to hear us, Mr. Lucent? Okay, we will go ahead and move to the next speaker and come back. The next speaker is Liznet Ortiz Alicia. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Liznet Ortiz, O-R-T-I-Z.
Thank you.
Hello, Director Pearson and members of the board. My name is Liznet Ortiz, and I am one of the 3 K-4 teachers at La Escuela Fratney. I am speaking today in support of the renovation for the basement classroom and basement bathrooms at my school. Our school just opened a K-3 program this school year because of family and staff interested. The K-3 rooms are located on the main floor where K-4 classrooms were originally. So our K-4 enrollment was so high this fall that we needed to open a 3rd K-4 classroom. There are 2 K-4 classrooms that are located in our basement because that's where there are large enough classrooms close to bathrooms best suited for our young learners. The bathrooms are very old and have not been renovated. In addition, the 3rd classroom in the basement is not currently updated or able to be a classroom without this renovation. Therefore, the 3rd K-4 classroom, which I lead, is on the 2nd floor without a bathroom nearby. It is not safe for a 4-year-old student to go up and down stairs more than 3 times per day to go to the restroom and to other areas in the building. The proposed renovation of the basement will allow room for all 3 K-4 classrooms to be together in the basement. This will increase collaboration among all the teachers and students. The interest and enrollment at La Escuela Fratney is high, and we need this to ensure that all our K-4 students and their families have a safe and welcoming environment at La Escuela Fratney. The staff and families at our school are committed to this vision. Please support the renovation of La Escuela Fratney's K-4 classroom and area so that we can continue to attract and retain students for our 2-way dual language school. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker on the platform is Tanya Ramos. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Tanya Ramos, R-A-M-O-S.
Thank you.
Hello, Director Peterson and members of the board. I'm a mother of 2 students at La Escuela Fratney. My oldest daughter is in K-5 and my youngest is in K-3, and I am here to support the renovation of the basement room and the basement restrooms at La Escuela Fratney, so all 4 K-4 students can be in the same floor. Thanks to the fact that La Escuela Fratney opened the K-3 program this year, I was able to enroll my 2 daughters in the same school and continue my professional career. I see my daughters being at this school for many years to come, and I would really like for this renovation to take place this upcoming year. As we all know, the environment plays a key role in supporting children's development and learning, and I would love to see that for the young ones, the ones that are starting their school year so they can easily integrate and have a comfortable and appealing place to learn. To think that not only my daughter, but that many other K-4 children will be able to be on the same floor, the basement, altogether is just amazing. Everything from the logistics to the interaction between the teachers and the students will be of the great benefit for the children by being in the same space. By approving this renovation, the children will be able to have accessible restrooms adapted to their needs, more appealing surroundings that will definitely ease their way to K-5. In addition, the groups will be able to share with each other and have the same opportunities for personal development that is so critical at the age of 4. I would love for this renovation to be approved to continue the improvement of the facilities at La Escuela Fratney, so other children can have the opportunity to receive the excellent education in both languages, Spanish, Español, my first language, and English at La Escuela Fratney. Thank you for this consideration in this matter. Gracias. Buenas noches.
Thank you. The next speaker on the platform is Alberto Salas. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Hello, Director Leonard and the other board directors. My name is Alberto Salas. I spell S-A-L-A-S.
Thank you. Please begin your testimony.
Yeah, thank you all for the opportunity to speak about the school I am proud to lead. Greenfield Bilingual School is a K-8 school located in a culturally diverse neighborhood and is well known for offering strong academic programming. Please note that many families made the choice to drive far just that their children attend our school. The school has been consistently honored by the state for meeting expectations and by the Response to Intervention Center at the gold level in all content areas for implementing rigorous systems of support grounded in best practices. I am here to support the proposal for adding additional space to Greenfield. This space will enhance the already strong programming we offer. The use for the expanded space includes having a place for offering small group instruction, socio-emotional support to our students, and a long list of student-centered programs to address their diverse needs. Having the expanded space will also allow us to implement these multi-level systems of support, enhancing equity among all our learners so they can achieve the highest potential. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. The next speaker on the platform is Jennifer Shutteron. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Jennifer Shetteron, S-H-E-T-E-R-O-N.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Shetteron, and I'm a proud special education teacher at Fairview School. Fairview is a school with a significant special education population. Over 25% of our students qualify for an IEP. For the past 19 years, I've had the privilege of working with middle school resource students at Fairview. We have always had a small pull-out groups in the cubbies in our basement called the air raid shelter. This school year, the air raid shelter was deemed unusable due to poor air quality and circulation concerns. As a result, many of us SPED teachers have had to get creative with where to hold our small groups. We utilize every possible space at Fairview for instruction, including the library, hallways, stage, and gymnasium, which already doubles as the cafeteria. On any given day, you will find me with 10, 12 students sitting in the hallway, on the ground, working on mini lessons and providing extra help. This is not the ideal situation because of the other distractions in the hallway, but we make the best out of it. We have a beautiful library at Fairview that all 600 of our students utilize on a weekly basis. This year, we've had to put up divider walls in our library because some SPED teachers needed to run their small groups in there. It's a difficult task to run small groups in the library due to various distractions and multiple groups running simultaneously. In addition to the SPED pull-out groups, we have harp lessons and piano lessons happening in the library. As a Fairview community, we are looking for an opportunity to enhance our current programming. We have the necessary green space to expand our school and have support from our wonderful Fairview community. We ask that MPS use available funds to give us the space and tools required to help our students reach their full potential. Please consider an investment in the staff and students of the Fairview community that will pay off in the long run. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The last speaker that we have on the platform to speak on this item is Eric Sullivan. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Sullivan, Sullivan.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Herndon, members of the committee, and Dr. Posley. My name is Eric Sullivan. I'm the proud principal of Fairview School. First off, I'd like to take the time to thank Director Leonard and members of the board for speaking with you about the possible opportunity to increase Fairview's existing building footprint. Prior to the pandemic, we were able to use our entire building for students' learning. However, with air quality front and center, and rightly so, nearly 1/4 of our building was deemed unusable due to air quality tests. These valuable spaces were primarily areas in which students would be able to receive small group instruction. Our teachers pivoted and have done a remarkable job of finding open hallway and library space in order to meet the needs of our students. With over 26% of our students receiving special education services, which includes 3 bridging units, 3 alternate ID units, and an early education unit, we are highly considered by our school community and beyond as a first choice destination in terms of special education programming. Our art, music, and PLTW technology classrooms have also outgrown their current space. Our vast music programming of band, harp, drum, and piano lessons are now taking place in the library because part of our basement space is not available for students learning. Fairview also believes that extracurriculars play a huge role in a student's school experience. Thus far, Fairview has offered our students 12 extracurricular activities. Studies prove that providing extracurricular activities boosts academic achievement, broadens student social skills, and increases student self-esteem. Fairview would like to offer even more extracurricular opportunities. However, our shared elementary gym cafeteria space makes it difficult. Fairview will continue to offer every opportunity for students to succeed academically, and we will continue to offer opportunities for students to grow socially and emotionally. Should we be able to expand, this would only enhance our current programming and opportunities for our students. Thank you for your time and appreciate the opportunity to speak to you about the exciting possibility in expanding Fairview's current footprint.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that completes public testimony and the item is back with the committee.
Thank you so much. At this point, I'll call on Director Peterson. Can't hear you.
Yes, thank you. I had a question regarding the federal regulations. I understand some. I think I understand them, and they're reasonable. But where does construction? How big is a construction project have to be before there's a intervention by the federal government on that? Like, is it you modify? Is it always an addition? Is it just internal modifications or what?
Administration.
We're going to yield to Nick on this one. Nick.
Thank you, Dr. Posley, Chair Herndon, and committee members, Nick Sinram, Assistant City Attorney, City of Milwaukee. That is a great question. Unfortunately, that is a gray area that we will have to eagerly await further guidance from the Department of Education and Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction before we know that for sure. I think that a good judgment is probably, or some factors and variables would be the nature of the project, as well as the cost. So, just based off of some of the examples that I heard, I think that lighting is probably a minor improvement that would not require federal oversight, whereas remodeling, expansions, roofing projects, and potentially HVAC improvements would be considered construction. I think that this is something that hopefully DPI will provide more guidance on shortly as more and more schools are submitting their applications.
Martha?
Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. There is a document given by the Department of Public Instruction that talks about minor remodeling versus construction. It's pretty general, and it does say that we should seek our counsel. but we'll also be seeking DPI's interpretation as we apply for the funding, so that we know that what we're being approved of is being approved under one or the other, to help us know how we need to categorize these projects. And we appreciate the city attorney's help with all this.
Thank you. With that, let's move to Director Taylor.
Thank you, Chair Herndon. Director Peterson asked one of my questions in reference of the federal regulations. I also heard the administrator talk about there was some other funding that possibly can be used by the schools. Was there a timeline for what they were utilized that $100,000 for? I'm just thinking about these projects, and so that we're not like double dipping or using some funding that can be utilized for some of these projects. So how do we identify and ensure if one pot of money is used for certain things like the ceiling or the painting, and then these are used for renovations? How will we know the difference or what funding is going towards what project?
Thank you. Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, one of the things that we noticed that, between ESSER 2 and ESSER 3, there's a total of $117.9 million that we have earmarked for things such as renovations and additions and those kinds of things, right? So that's the dollars we're talking about. However, there was another set aside for each of the schools to get $100,000 to use on whatever. And there's a menu of services that they have worked with the administration to add a number of different things that they could purchase. And then we also have a line that's called other things that we did not think of that could be used to do that. We're in the process now of trying to closely coordinate these dollars together so that these dollars roll out the door around the same time, so that schools will be able to provide the painting or plumbing or whatever the situation, small items. That money should be coming very soon. We're in the process now. I don't know if Martha has a time of arrival, but we are very close because we just completed this second part of it where we have made that list and worked with administrators to get that list together.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Herndon. Thank you, administration. Also, I know when you look at the list, it has like interior, exterior, and renovations. And there isn't it's a breakdown by districts or by school, but I wanted to know, was there a breakdown of what was like priority? Like an example would be one building, actually, the roof, 50% of the roof has leaks. I would think something like that is priority. So as we're looking at these different projects, is there a list somewhere where we can see it, the board of directors or the schools, that we can see the priority of these projects that needs to be done and those that probably will need to be done more expediently versus some of those that can maybe be a longer term versus a short term or right now?
Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, that is absolutely what we are looking at doing, Director Taylor, in this next round. That was the list of 6 items that I talked about at the end of things that we are going to look at. And then there have been maybe things that the board will give us to add and to look at that, as well as in Sean's presentation, he talked about this is at face value. This is what we have received from schools without going out to have someone to go out to check it and those kinds of things. But we do have a plan here in the office where we are looking at
The superintendent's conference room microphones are muted.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So we do have a deferred maintenance plan that is out there that we take a look at. We do have things such as lighting and those kinds of things on a schedule of when those kinds of things are going to happen. The playgrounds, they're on a schedule. I've seen playgrounds in the list. So there's a number of different things that are already on a list of when things will happen. However, school communities may want to have those things to happen faster. And so therefore, we will also be able to get staff out there from facilities and maintenance to take a closer look at some of the projects that is being requested and go from there.
Thank you. Director Taylor, any more
No,
questions?
that's it. I just want to say thank you for this. It's been probably a long road, being an employee of the district, seeing some of the work that probably should have been done years ago. I'm looking forward to us being able to update some of these buildings for our staff, our students, and our families. Thank you, Chair Herndon. Thank you, Administration.
Thank you. Director O'Halloran.
Thank you, Chair Herndon. I have just a couple questions. One, on the list, there's new middle school and new elementary school, and there are dollars associated with that. And I was wondering if you can clarify what that means.
Administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, one of the things that we wanted to put on there was the cost from start to finish of what an elementary school and a middle school will cost us. So we just wanted you to be aware of that. So if you said we should build a new school, or if the recommendation to build a new school, you know exactly what we're up against. And this is estimated cost from Sean's team. And we don't have the exact cost as of yet, but just the idea, you know, we're looking at if that happens to need to be done, and we can do that, and we have earmarked the amount.
Okay.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
Thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that correctly, because it does help put into perspective some of the project numbers. I did want to ask, can these be broken down in phases? Part of my concern, two concerns around if we could do it in phases. One is the dollars have to be spent by 2024 is my understanding. So I just want to make sure that we don't say, okay, we're going to do one big project and then we don't incur the costs in a timely fashion and we end up not being able to spend all of the dollars that have been allocated to us. I'm sure we could, but just wanted to see if there's a way we can break it down in phases for that purpose. And also if we're able to leverage any private public partnerships around these. We already just approved the plan for Washington High School's playfield as an example, where the community was able to come up with some of the money and we approved some of it, and together great things happened. I just look at this whole list is very large and aspirational, and I'm so excited, but I know that we could, it would take much more than what we've already allocated for these construction projects under ESSER funding to achieve everything that's being requested. So I guess, can we break these down in phases, and can we leverage public-private relationships to accomplish any of these?
Administration.
Herndon and members of the committee, the answer is yes. And then for some portions of that, the answer is more that we should be cautious on doing just that. One of the first things that we looked at, and I'm going to turn it over to Sean to kind of talk about it, is to look at the low-hanging fruit. There are some things that we can do just right now and get those taken care of and out of the way. Also, with the only thing that we worry about with private dollars and those kinds of things, if they are not ready right now to move forward, it makes it difficult because we on a timetable to spend these dollars. And so therefore, if they don't come up with the dollars matching funds right away, it makes it a little difficult for us. But if we can match up a perfect situation, by all means, we are ready to move forward, and we can do just that. So the answer, yes, we can, but with caution, with partners that may not be ready to move right now. If they got to, forecast out for some years, it may hurt us. And I'm going to turn it over to Sean to kind of talk about some other things that he's doing around that. Sean?
Thanks, Dr. Posley. Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Senior Director, Facilities and Maintenance Services. As you kind of remember, for the ESSER 2, the acronym IPD, Integrated Project Delivery Contractors, we're taking the same exact approach with ESSER 3 to maximize the dollars and also move things quickly as possible. So right now, I'm going to be happy to say pretty soon, my air quality report here, that'll be forthcoming. But we are getting almost to the point where we're able to release contracts for each school site as part of ESSER 2, addressing air quality needs and some of the other things such as water bottle stations, et cetera. We're trying to do this in parallel with ESSER 3. My goal is to we just had an RFP that went out. We got some great response, and the goal is it's a similar services, but a little different dynamic with some of the tasks, but same concept that we're looking to bring that forward to the board at the January board cycle. So the nice thing is if we start to get our process figured out, what we got for federal regulations, et cetera, that we could start on the ESSER 3 stuff, and primarily like the low hanging fruit, as Dr. Posley indicated, like painting, getting some shades, replacing toilet partitions, replacing some outdated cafeteria tables. I mean, those are outstanding things that we could probably knock out this summer, but I'd highly encourage that we should make the school leaders make decisions sooner than later, because if you have someone that waits a couple of years and they have their $100,000 allocation, and if it's a long lead time item, we might be very challenged trying to accommodate what they're looking for. So I know everyone wants to maybe get some input from their stakeholders, the parents, staff, et cetera, but I'd highly encourage, if they are going down that $100,000 allotment, they start having those conversations now and see what we can tackle this summer. Because again, we're running out of time. I mean, I joke around and tell our IPDs that we're not moving fast enough, that I want to get moving and moving and moving. So anything that can assist us to help people help themselves, I'm all about that.
Thank you very much. Any more follow-up? Director O'Halloran? Thank you. Director Leonard.
So first of all, I want to thank the parents that spoke today and the administrators, but I especially want to thank Mr. Kane, Dr. Posley, your administrative team. I know that this is a complex, stressful task, to say the least, but I do believe wholeheartedly this is one route we have to go, no matter how difficult it is. And I want to mirror Director O'Halloran. She had actually asked several of my questions, but especially the idea that if we could find partners quick enough, but I know that may be very difficult. I was under the impression that once that money was earmarked and ready to go, even on paper, that was good enough, but maybe I'm wrong about that, and you can correct me as you see fit. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Thank you. Administration. Oh, I see one more hand up there, but would you like to respond to Director Leonard, administration, and then I'll go to Mr. Chasen.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee. One of the things that Director Leonard talked about, can things change after we get it earmarked? There is probably going to be some situations where we have decided and got it on paper that we're going to go in this direction, and something happens that it falls through. We will just be rerouting the funds to another project. We have tons of projects that need to get done, so we won't be short of projects. We will just have to redivert the dollars and get it done as fast as we possibly can. But our goal is, whatever we land on, we want to see it be successful and see it through. However, if there's some other thing that pop up that we cannot be successful seeing it through, we also want to divert the dollars to make it work somewhere else in the district.
Okay. Any follow-up, Director Leonard? Okay. Mr. Chasen.
Thank you, Chair Herndon. Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. What I heard from the city attorney earlier this evening was that we will be entering a covenant, which is basically an obligation to a physical space that will be a duration equal to the useful life associated with the capital improvement. Now, the capital improvement useful life is sort of an accounting term. It's generally a function of two things, an input related to the type of improvement and also the total dollar amount. It can often span multiple decades, and so that the board can be fully informed, on how this commitment may intersect with a long-range facilities master plan. I'd simply ask that the administration, in addition to this report coming forward again with updates, including the estimated cost, that it also include the estimated useful life, so that the board can be fully informed on what this commitment may look like in the larger scope of strategic planning. Thanks.
Thank you, administration.
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, that is truly what we're trying to do. We will take a closer look at that. As soon as we get more information from DPI as well as the U.S. Department of Ed that will guide us through that particular piece, we will be providing that information and full disclosure to the board. So yes, we will be doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments?
Madam Chair, we have no additional public comments on this item.
Okay.
I do see Director Peterson's hand up. I don't know if that was from before. Oh, yes.
Director Peterson?
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate the fact that our last time when we had a building assessment done, we found $1.2 billion worth of deferred maintenance. And so what we're spending here is less than 10% towards that. And so everybody has to work together and figure out what to do. I mean, just keep in mind, if we were to build a new school every year, that means our schools would have to last 140 years. We have 140 schools, and we haven't built very many new schools in the last several years. And so we are facing this this dilemma, not of our own making. It's certainly part of the need for massive investment in infrastructure in our country. And I just wanted to put it in the larger context. And we as a school board, administration, teachers and principals and parents just have to work together. I'm very pleased that we did decide that each school gets $100,000 when, and I don't think at that time we were thinking so much about painting and construction, but I think that's a good investment. And that's a good opportunity for schools that might not be able to be on the list on the first round of schools that might get renovations or additions.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? If not, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Madam Chair, I do not believe we have a motion on this item.
Oh, okay. Informational. All right. At this time, Madam Chair, I think we go back, right?
I'm sorry, Director Carr. No. Okay. I thought I saw a hand up. Yes, Madam Chair, we do go back to the agenda items where we are at item number 4, which is action on a request to approve the proposed 2022-2023 school calendars. The recommendation is that the board approve the proposed calendars as submitted in the attachments to this item.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, before you are the proposed school calendars for the 2022-23 school year. We're recommending an early start calendar and a traditional start calendar for the upcoming school year. The calendars represent collaborations between the administration and various stakeholders. Thank you to all of those individuals who have worked together to make this happen. Happen for planning process. And at this time, I'm going to ask Adrian Maloney to also provide some additional information related to the calendars. Adrian?
Thank you, Chair Herndon and members of the committee. Adrian Maloney, Chief Human Resources Officer. As Dr. Posley mentioned, tonight we're bringing forward to you for consideration drafts of the 2022-2023 school calendars. We are presenting 2 calendars, an early start and a traditional start. We currently have these calendars this school year. Back in early 2019, MPS, the families and staff were surveyed regarding moving to one calendar, which would have started at the end of August. Survey results indicated a preference for keeping the two calendars. Having an early start calendar allows the district to offer two summer school sessions, one in June and one in July. This provides students with more opportunity to engage in credit recovery and stay on track for graduation. The early start traditional calendar was approved in 2019-2020 school year, and we have continued with this model. In preparing the calendars before you, feedback was solicited from MTA, ASC, and PAMS. We are hoping calendars can be approved this month so we can start the necessary enrollment and programming processes for next school year. With that, we are prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Okay, Director Carr.
Thank you, Chair Herndon. My question is specifically related to the data collected to reach the decision to proceed with the two calendars. Is the administration able to provide the board and the public with that data that has a breakdown of who was in support, or individuals that are in support and individuals that are not?
Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director Carr, members of the committee, Adrian Maloney, Chief Human Resources Officer. Back in 2019, they were surveyed with the two options of the one calendar and the two calendars. The option of the one calendar received 13,045 votes. And the option two, which was keeping the early start and traditional calendar, had votes of 17,459.
Thank you. Director Carr, any follow-up?
Yes, it would be helpful if that information were sent out for the board and the public to review. But thank you for sharing the breakdown.
Thank you. Any more members wish to speak? Okay, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on the site? Oh, Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. And I want to thank administration for bringing the survey results, because I did reach out earlier with some questions around the early start. Can you, when you bring any further information, if that's going to happen, it would be good to know, like, how many people take advantage of that J term so that they can advance in their high school career, those types of things. Just wanted to come back to the idea that when people have come to me with complaints around the early start, if it was just a matter of like, it doesn't feel like summer, that was something that I was like, I don't think that's something I'm concerned about. But as we saw this fall, you know, we did lose a day, right? Even if it's factored into the calendar, we lost a day. So I just want to make sure that when we are considering keeping it the way that we are, and I know that perhaps things have already been planned out for next year based on the idea that we would continue what we've been doing. But if in the future we can have a kind of a more, I guess, in-depth discussion around these are the benefits that we see with the early start, and that's why we do it this way, it would be helpful, because I don't anticipate climate change going anywhere. I anticipate that the month of August will probably be, you know, hotter and in the future, and that the last 2 weeks of August are going to be hotter than the first 2 weeks of June. So, you know, there will be people who would like to see us go back to, where possible, go back to more traditional calendar. And so it would be good to know what the benefits are, as I previously asked.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Okay, Director Peterson. You're on mute.
Thank you. I move acceptance of the proposed calendars, the two proposed calendars by the administration.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? If not, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the proposed 2022-2023 school calendars. Director Carr.
Pass.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
Director Carr. And Chair Herndon. Oh,
Aye.
looks like Director Carr's microphone's going in and out. We have 4 ayes, 1 temporarily absent. The motion passes.
There she is. She's back, Madam Secretary.
Director Carr, were you able to hear us during the vote?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 4 ayes, 1 temporarily absent. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 5, which is action on a request to approve adjustments to the union leave release provision of the employee handbook. The recommendation is that the board approve the adjustments to the employee handbook as presented in the attachment to this item.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Yes, Chair Herndon and members of the committee, this item is requesting approval adjustments to the employee handbook for the purpose of clarifying language as relates to the union leave and release. At this time, I'm going to ask Adrian Maloney to walk us through the revisions, and afterwards, we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Adrian?
Thank you, Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Adrian Maloney, Chief Human Resources Officer. Tonight before you are revisions to the union leave and union relief policy, the employee handbook. The purpose of these revisions are to provide clarity for employees on the parameters and procedures to union leave and union release. The procedures and the parameters that are indicated in the revisions to the handbook are already occurring. It's how we do the process, so there will be no change in terms of our current process and procedure as it relates to union leave. At this time, we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Madam Chair, it appears that your microphone is muted. Also, Director Carr's microphone is popping in and out. And it looks like Director O'Halloran is in the queue to speak.
Okay, Director O'Halloran, go ahead, please.
Thank you. I don't have any comments. I was just gonna move approval of administration's recommendation for the adjustments to the employee handbook as it presented in this attachment.
Okay, thank you. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to a request to approve adjustments to the union leave release provision of the employee handbook. On the motion as read into the record, we can give it a try. Director Carr?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Peterson?
Aye.
Director Taylor?
Aye.
And Chair Herndon?
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 6, which is action on monthly finance matters. Authorization to make purchases, change orders in excess of $25,000 and emergency purchases due to COVID-19, acceptance of the report on revenues and expenses, the monthly expenditure control report, the report on contracts under $50,000 and their cumulative totals, the report on monthly grant awards, and the acceptance of donations. The recommendation is that the board authorize the purchases and accept the donations with appropriate acknowledgements to be made on behalf of the board.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we are asking for your approval of the monthly finance matter. Before opening it up for any questions, I would like to offer my sincere gratitude and for the generous donors who supported our schools and our students this month. Together, they gave $66,681.09 in donations. A big thank you to all of our donors this month, and a special thank you to our alumni for $360. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Okay, I see no hands. So then, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of the committee? With respect to this item, Director O'Halloran.
I move we approve administration's recommendation that the board authorize the purchases and accept the donations as listed in attachments with appropriate acknowledgements to be made on behalf of the board.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? If not, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the monthly finance awards matters, Director Carr.
I will recuse myself due to the appearance of a conflict of interest.
Okay, Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 4 ayes, 1 recusal. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item for consideration is item 7, action on the awards of professional services contracts. The recommendation is that the board authorize the professional services contracts as set forth in the attachments to this item.
Thank you. Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we are requesting your approval of the attached professional service contracts. We are happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to ask questions or make comments? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I see it that one of the services listed under Goodwill was about subs, and I was just wondering how the staffing is going because I've also seen posts about how to become a sub. So I don't know if that's related enough to fall under this topic, but just generally, what the status is for our sub situation.
Thank you. Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director O'Halloran, members of the committee, Michael Harris, Senior Director of Talent Management. The Goodwill Talent Bridge provides us clerical and support staff, so they do not provide us substitute teachers. So in this particular case, we really just use them for paraprofessional support, clerical, CHA support in our schools.
Thank you. Any follow-up?
Sorry, I think maybe I was looking at something else. So I apologize for that. No, I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
And if nobody else would, I would move approval of administration's recommendation.
Well, first, do we have any public comment? And if not, we'll move forward with your motion.
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, is there any further discussion by committee? And if not, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the award of professional services contracts, Director Carr. I'm sorry, your microphone's going in and out.
Aye.
Thank you. Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Peterson?
Aye.
Director Taylor?
Aye.
And Chair Herndon?
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 8, action on the award of exception to bid contracts. The recommendation is that the board authorize the exception to bid requests as set forth in the attachments to this item.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, tonight we're requesting your approval on to award the exception to bid contracts. We are happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to ask questions or make comments? Okay. I see no hands. All right. Madam Chair, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee? Okay, Director O'Halloran?
Actually, I saw Director Carr's hand. I'll let her take this one.
Okay, Director Carr.
I move approval of the administration's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? If not, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Carr's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the award of exception to bid contracts, Director Carr?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Peterson?
Aye.
Director Taylor? Oh,
Aye.
okay. And Chair Herndon?
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 9, action on a request to waive administrative policy 3.09, parent 9, parent E, and authorize a purchase with Committee for Children for online access to the second step curriculum. The recommendation is that the board authorize the waiver of the policy 3.09, parent 9, parent E, and approve the purchase for the Committee for Children as set forth in the attachment to this item.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, this item requests a waiver of administrative policy 3.09 and to authorize the purchase to access online social and emotional learning curriculum. And we can answer any questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to ask questions or make comments? Okay, I'm checking, no hands. Okay, Madam Secretary, do we have public comment on this item?
We have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item?
Madam Chair, before the vote, the exception on the waiver, the request for the waiver is due to the fact that this curriculum is one of a kind.
Okay. Thank you. Is there further discussion? If not, Director O'Halloran.
I move that we accept or adopt administration's recommendation or approve administration's recommendation that the board authorize the waiver of administrative policy 3.09 and approve the purchase from Committee for Children as set forth in the attachment.
Thank you. Is there, looks like there's a hand raised in the superintendent's conference room. Administration?
Yes. Chair Herndon and members of the committee, I just want to make it clear this is a prepayment for this as well. And I will have Janine to go through the details. Janine?
Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Janine Adamczyk, Director of Procurement and Risk Management. By doing a prepaid 5-year subscription, we will save over $200,000 versus an annual payment, which is why we are bringing this to the board and requesting approval.
Madam Chair, your microphone is turned off.
Does anyone else wish to speak from committee? Okay, I see no hands. What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item?
Madam Chair, we do have a motion
Oh,
by
I'm
Director
sorry.
O'Halloran, which moves approval of the administration's recommendation.
I'm sorry, we got back to administration and threw me off. Is there any further discussion? If not, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the administration's recommendation relative to the purchase of the online access for the Committee for Children for online access to the second step curriculum. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 10, action on a request to waive Administrative Policy 3.09, Parent 9, Parent E, and authorize a contract with Alverno College for coursework services. The recommendation is that the board authorize the waiver and approve the contract with Alverno as set forth in the attachment to this item.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, this item requests the administrative waiver policy 3.09 and authorize a contract with Alverno College for coursework services. These services outlined in the attachment of this item supports the district's commitment to fostering a pathway for district paraprofessionals to become licensed bilingual teachers. Michael Harris is here with me this evening, and we are happy to respond to any questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you.
Madam, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You can go.
Madam Chair, before we receive a motion, the request for waiver of the policy, is that for a time frame, if the administration could provide information on the necessity of a request to waive the policy.
Administration.
Herndon and members of the committee, yes, 3 years and 1 month is the time frame.
So noted.
Thank you. Okay, back to Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. I actually have a question, and then I would be happy to make a motion. But do we have numbers for the cohorts? Like how many people are participating in the programs?
Thank you. Administration.
Chair Herndon, Director O'Halloran, and members of the committee, Michael Harris, Senior Director of Talent Management. Yes, so as we shared with you in previous months, there was some confusion at Alverno when they were enrolling folks in these programs. I'm happy to report that we have 7 folks going into the associate degree to bachelor program starting in January. And we have 11 who transitioned out of that because they currently held a bachelor's degree, and they will be working towards their master's with initial licensure K9 with endorsement in ESL and bilingual education.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions? Anyone? See none. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of the committee? Okay, I'm not seeing. Okay, Director O'Halloran.
Feel like a broken record. I move we approve administration's recommendation to authorize the waiver of Administrative Policy 3.09 and approve the contracts with Alverno College as set forth in the attachments.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? If not, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director O'Halloran's request for a policy waiver of 3.09, Parent 9, Parent E, and to authorize a contract with Alverno for coursework services. Director Carr? Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Peterson?
Aye.
Director Taylor?
Aye.
Chair Herndon?
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item 11, action on a request to approve vacation compensation for eligible employees. The recommendation is that the board approve the vacation compensation as outlined in the attachments to this item.
Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, as the COVID-19 pandemic continues to impact us both locally as well as nationally, some staff are working in a way that they are not no longer earning vacation time. As a result, we are requesting approval of vacation compensation for eligible employees. We're happy to provide any additional information or answer any questions that you may have at this time regarding this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions of this item? Okay, I see no hands. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Peterson. You're on mute.
I move that we support the administration's recommendation on vacation time.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any further discussion from committee? If not, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the administration's recommendation for the request to approve vacation compensation for eligible employees. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Next item, please.
The next item is item 12, action on monthly facilities matters, FMS awards of construction contracts recommendation, and the report with possible action regarding air quality. The recommendation is that the board approve the attached construction contracts and accept the air quality report.
Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, we are asking for your approval of the facilities and maintenance contracts that are before you. Sean Kane is with me, and between the two of us, we can answer any questions that you may have in regards to the item. And Sean is going to provide our monthly air quality report. Sean?
Thank you, Dr. Posley, Chair Herndon, members of the committee. Sean Kane, Senior Director of Facilities Maintenance Services. I'll continue on if there aren't any questions on the recommendation letter, but I'll follow through with the air quality update. As mentioned in last month's report, FMS is continually working with their 4 current integrated project delivery contractors, IPD for short, that were approved in July. As we scope out mechanical projects for the inside of the buildings, I thought I'd use this monthly report to discuss air quality on the outside of our buildings with our upcoming outdoor classrooms. Our FMS team has been working with their contracted owners representative to review previous outdoor classrooms that were done as part of the recent green schoolyard reconstruction projects and/or projects that were done on schools' own funds. Our team requested information from schools who had outdoor classrooms, middle and high schools, to get their feedback on their outdoor classroom structures and how, if they were to use them, how would they like them. The data was compiled and responses obviously varied. Our team next met with the individuals from the Recreation and Academics Department to get their feedback. Once information was vetted, FMS hired the design team of one of our IPD teams to come up with options, materials, design parameters, costs, potential schedule impacts, etc. The school's request will be based off a menu of options. There is a draft of the proposed menu on the air quality report that was uploaded this month. The last document of the report included outdoor classroom prototypes with the menu options that will be presented to schools to make their choice. Each school is being allotted $55,000 as a budget if they don't have a current outdoor classroom. If schools were fortunate enough to have the school year reconstruction project done at their school, we were going to allot $10,000 for furniture or accessories. And a side note, the schools have the opportunity to utilize part of their appropriated $100,000 of ESSER 3 funds as well if they want to supplement things. Our team is happy with the progress related to the outdoor classrooms, and we believe the units will present MPS branding opportunities along with an outdoor educational setting that allows social distance. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do committee members want to make comments or ask questions? Director Carr, and then Director Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for the administration. Can you walk me through the process, the selection process for selecting contractors? And specifically, I want to hear more about the part of the process that includes screening more minority contractors and how that selection or the determination is made to then be forwarded to the board.
Chair Herndon, Director Carr, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Senior Director, Facilities Maintenance Services. The contractors that we had included for the IPD teams, we had an RFP that was submitted, and we worked with Contract Compliance Services that there was a 25% requirement working through with historically underutilized businesses as part of the scope. The scope what we worked with is a little atypical, where we kind of had a designer and a contractor all on board as part of this contract, in order to streamline the process to get quick turnaround on projects that we're moving forward. Kind of related to ESSER 2, that's what we've been doing as of now, that we're ready to release a lot of contracts. We are taking the same approach with ESSER 3. And again, it was a RFP that was submitted publicly, people can bid on it. And we've reached out working with Contract Compliance Services to see what we can do to attract new companies that normally haven't bid on our projects. We actually had a very successful event yesterday where we had an open house with contractors that we spread the word going through eNotify, who's kind of our city agency, works that way. We worked with AE Graphics, who's our platform that does our bidding services. And also there's an organization called Blue Book that reaches out to many contractors and designers across the area. And we had a turnout yesterday that was very good, considering it's still somewhat the pandemic. It was at Beulah, Britain, but we had a very good turnout with that. So when we were looking at that, we've been working closely with Contract Compliance Services and also some of our contractors that bid with us and have a good working relationship, and trying to see whether there's opportunities that we can work with other companies that have not worked with MPS.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Or Director Peterson, I see your hands up.
Yes, I was hoping, Sean, that you could just repeat what you said in terms of schools that don't currently have an outdoor classroom, they get a certain amount of money, and schools that have had one through the Green Project, they get some additional funds for something else. Could you just repeat that? I just have to say that I really appreciate that we're trying to move this to all schools and to use it as a branding opportunity for the district.
Chair Herndon, Director Peterson, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Senior Director, Facilities Maintenance Services. So we're allocating $55,000 for sites that have not had an outdoor classroom structure. And part of the menu, what we're looking to do is that we're going to share these costs with the schools. Realistically, if you do an outdoor structure, an overhead structure, you're possibly looking at maybe to 35 to 40, lower 40s $1,000 structures. Some schools may want to take that upon to use something like that, especially if they have a hardscape asphalted space, that it does present opportunities then where you can purchase furniture such as benches, tables, seating arrangements with maybe planters or whatnot. So if you look at the illustrations that were provided by the consultant team, I think they did a very good job of trying to splash around, showing what could be done. So the nice thing is that, let's just say if a school already had their outdoor classroom, they're being allotted then $10,000 as part of the ESSER 2 funds. And they could supplement things by maybe introducing more benches, tables, a screen or something that may be suitable for what they're looking for. But then the other flip side of this, they could utilize that $100,000 that they have as part of their funds that they are given at each school if they ever wanted to add more things to this. So it presents them options and with them off a menu to let them choose what they're looking for.
Thank you.
Any follow-up, Director Peterson?
No, thank you.
Director Carr?
Yes.
We hadn't gotten to the vote yet.
Yeah, no, you called my name.
Oh, that's because your hand is raised.
Yeah, my screen is froze. I can't mute or I tried. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
We did that.
All right. At this point, what is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director O'Halloran.
I move we approve administration's recommendation for the attached construction contracts and air quality report.
Thank you. Is there further discussion on this item? If not, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve the monthly facilities matters and to accept the report, the air quality report. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson. Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Okay, Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 13, which is action on a request to approve the conservation easements between Milwaukee Public Schools, the City of Milwaukee, and the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District. The recommendation is that the board approve the limited term conservation easements as listed in the attachments to this item.
Thank you. Will administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, the item before you seeks approval of the conservation easement between the City of Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District, and the Milwaukee Public Schools to support the district's sustainability initiative. Sean King is here with me and can respond to any questions that you may have regarding this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members wish to ask questions or share comments? Okay, I see no hands. All right, Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item? Director Peterson?
I move support of the request to approve conservation easements between Milwaukee Public Schools, the City of Milwaukee, and the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District.
Okay, is there further discussion? If not, will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Peterson's motion to approve the requests on easements as listed in the attachments to this item relative to the easements between Milwaukee Public Schools, City of Milwaukee, and Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair Herndon.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, next item, please.
The next item is item number 15, as we have already dispensed with item number 14. Item number 15 is a report with possible action regarding the task force on strategies and guidelines to develop capacity in attracting, retaining, and developing bilingual teachers and support staff. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Thank you. Will the administration please present this item?
Chair Herndon and members of the committee, the item before us is this month's report with possible action regarding the bilingual task force as relates to attracting and retaining bilingual educators. I have Mr. Eduardo Gavan, as well as Michael Harris, who is with me this evening, that will provide an update. Eduardo?
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Director Herndon, members of the committee. Eduardo Galvan, Regional Superintendent for the Southwest Region. Again, this is an update regarding the task force. The task force met on Monday, November 22nd for its monthly meeting. During that meeting, we did discuss the 4 points that the board has asked us to focus on. We did begin that conversation with discussing how the change that the board approved in Administrative Policy 6.33 as it relates to clinical student teaching, and now that our employees can do their student teaching without relinquishing their job. We did begin discussions on what that would look like here within MPS. That's a process that will need to involve university partners so that our employees can fulfill their requirements as they relate to each individual university. So we'll continue to have that. We had then moved into discussion regarding more of the financial supports, and Michael will give us some more information regarding that.
Sure, Chair Herndon, members of the committee, Michael Harris, Senior Director of Talent Management. So we are continuing to maximize the dollars that the board have set aside for bilingual staff in the district. Currently, we just had the application close on November 19th. We had 16 staff members that applied, and on December 10th, those 16 staff members received award letters. All of the employees that receive financial assistance from the district must complete a verification process. We are seeing a little lag in that process because it is new, but we want to make sure that we're, doing our due diligence to ensure that everyone is submitting documentation to show that they are in an approved program with the university. So we're going to reach out and do additional reach out to those individuals to ensure that they understand that process, because as I've stated before, we are putting these processes in place as we're going along. So we're just going to continue to work with our employees to ensure that they have the financial support to complete their programs. I am to date with all of the folks that have applied, it looks like we are at about $109,000 in scholarships being awarded to our employees. We are going to pursue looking at our international teachers that just arrived, who may need that financial assistance as well, because they will need to do some licensure work. And so we're looking to support them. And we'll also then, through Thursday Update, communicate that these opportunities are available to other staff members, right? We know we need a wide variety and a diversified staff. So we're going to do some additional outreach to those folks to make sure that if they are in need of financial assistance, the time is now. It might be a one-time, piece, but we want to do whatever we can to support our employees so that they can continue on the pathway to teacher licensure.
In addition, we continue to discuss the other supports that we offer to our employees, such as tutoring. Tutors have been surveyed and selected based on the needs of employees. Tutoring will be available. Kimberly Romero, working with Mr. Harris and his group, the development specialist, is working to coordinate that in those services. Thank you to both South Division and Washington High School and their leaders for letting us use those sites to accommodate tutoring that may be needed from our employees in those programs. So computer labs and spaces to host the tutors on Mondays and Wednesdays from 4 to 7. There'll be more details in Thursday updates for those people who want to avail themselves of those services. It's also important to mention that as part of our agreements with these universities, they too have to offer support, right? Like any university student, through advisors, through tutoring. So what we offer is obviously only for our employees, but they also get the benefits from the universities which we partner. So I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that. And then,
of course, as we continue to recruit, recruitment is not just a season, it's all year long. So we are continuing our efforts to work with our community partners. The talent management team was over at Owens Place on Fond du Lac Avenue yesterday, meeting with some young people that are definitely interested in careers in Milwaukee Public Schools. And we will be at Maximus on 27th and Capitol on Thursday. So if you could spread the word between 10 and 2, we will have representatives there to interview and talk to folks about career opportunities in Milwaukee Public Schools.
Our next meeting of the Bilingual Task Force is this coming Monday, the 20th of December. And we'll continue our discussions in hopes of finalizing those 4 points and presenting those to the board early in the next calendar year. And with that, we will take any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Do committee members wish to make comments or ask questions at this time? Okay, I'm checking. Okay, Director Leonard.
I also saw Dr.
Peterson.
Peterson, yeah. So really just one question that I can think of right now. What are our projected needs for filling the seats for bilingual, ESL, and world language teachers in our district?
Thank you. Administration.
Director Herndon, Director Leonard, members of the committee, Michael Harris, Senior Director of Talent Management. Of course, our middle schools and high school content areas continue to be a concern. So that would be those math, science, special education teachers. What I'm really excited about is the fact that we will have the first cohort of emerging educators completing their student teaching this January. And those will be dual certified teachers. They will be They will be 1-8 and K-12, 1-8 regular education, K-12, 1-12 special ed. I want to make sure I get that correct. So we have around 39 of those individuals that will benefit from the board's approval of the on-the-job student teaching, and they will be actually eligible for those positions come fall of next year. But we continue to struggle with those content areas, middle schools specifically. Those are hard to fill. And so with the dollars that the board has allotted for us to be aggressive with some of our hiring practices with sign-on types of incentives, we're hopeful that we will be able to bring talented individuals into the organization.
Okay, thank you. Director Peterson.
I just want to thank people who are working on this, the Bilingual Task Force, Mr. Harris and Mr. Galvan in particular. I know that there's been over the last year or two some confusion and back and forth, and I think we're straightening it out, and it looks like we're really on the upside of it, and we'll continue to expand and improve the quality and the availability of teachers, particularly bilingual teachers in MPS. So thank you, and let's continue forward.
Thank you. Anyone else? I don't see any more hands. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comment on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no request for public testimony on this item.
What is the pleasure of the committee with respect to this item?
Madam Chair, this is a report with possible action and no action is required.
Okay. So then we'll move to the next item, please.
Madam Chair, that was the last item on tonight's agenda.
Okay, thank you. Thanks everyone for tuning in tonight and for the board directors that were all here to participate, as well as administration and all their staff. Have a great remainder of your evening. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.